Women, what is the equation with women?
What do you mean by equation?
Have you been in love?
Right, every time a person loves is the only time he has ever loved. But I have a very rich, potent, powerful history being in love. This is up for dispute, but probably exclusively, solely with women.
Have your lovers been kind to you, or
Okay, now you are speaking in poetry.
I am?
You said you're touching 30, right? You're probably entering a very decisive decade in your life. Probably even one of the best decades.
Is Lavinia from these hills or a moist coastal girl?
So when you were reading, it was very clear to me that there's a lot of active.
In general, is this, I mean,
No, when it happens, like you also have an orgasm. Sri Lankans or we people as a country, we don't own failure. Even a thing that we loved, even a thing that we built up with so much passion, dedication, commitment. If there's failure over time, we let go of it. We get hold of the next fashionable thing that comes along. It's not a game anymore.
you don't like Virat. I'm not saying that you don't like Virat Kohli, but you've said that he murders cricket.
Terrible cricketer.
Terrible
Virat
cricketer.
Kohli. I'm not a big fan of DRS. I firmly believe it has to go.
ඔයාගේ මතය එක පුළුවන්ද?
Sri Lankan cricket. The biggest question is, why is Sri Lankan cricket?
See, but do people still do people still expect free copy? I mean, I can understand.
All
Like
the
you said,
time, all the time,
free copies.
all the time.
But where do you
So look,
block it?
Yeah,
Where
you
do
have to like make a call at some point. You have to make a call. There are decent people, right? No matter how known you are to them, right? They understand it's fair trade basically. It's fair trade. But then I really hope this kind of inclination for free merchandise it dies with time. I have a lot of hope for the future generations. I really feel I see a lot of good things despite comments and critiques people have of the future of the country. I see a lot of good things, right? So one good thing is that they take rupees and cents a bit seriously, and they are ready to acknowledge the time and effort you
We
put
really
in.
had no choice, have we?
Sorry?
They've really had no choice, have they?
Yeah, I mean, like, but then to answer your question, I think you have to, at one point, lovingly, probably, gently, with consideration, draw the line.
That's all
right?
I can do.
Yeah. So, but then again,
See, because you also lose money on that.
no, but then again, it's again very strange. I say this because I think I've come to a point in my life. It's not very important anymore, right?
I mean, getting it sold.
Getting money out, because I think I've come to a point in my life where the passion has really taken over. The expression has really taken over.
Taken over, right?
Yeah, you make money, that's fine, but there are ways and there are certain spaces where you make that money. If you have to, let's say, let go of a copy for free, it doesn't make me lose too much of my sleep. It's come to that kind of point.
Okay.
But I don't recommend that to people, right? I don't recommend that. I think you should have a dignity to your labor. You should have a dignity to your labor. I was just adding a personal note.
Right. See, you were talking about the Sinhala industry and the English industry, and there's a huge gap, yes, in Sri Lanka.
In terms of?
The size of the industry,
Yeah,
the Sinhala
yes.
publishing and the English. The difference, is it due to the readership?
How many do you think are habitual English users in Sri Lanka? Habitual English users. So let's say, for the sake of the argument, let's say 5% of the population, that's still a high number. Has to be less than that, right? Habitual. I'm not talking about people who write official letters in English, the email in English, not for functional
English as the
purposes.
main language for communication.
Dream in English, right?
Okay.
Have sex in English.
Think in English.
Yeah, have sex in English, right? Very small number, probably 5% is still a big number. Out of that small number, how many reads in English? Things English, Sri Lankan writers write. Has to be it's like nickels, right? Small number.
Because reading is not It's not for everyone, is it?
It's not for everyone. And even if you read, if you have to choose between, let's say, Vihanga Perera and Arthur Conan Doyle or something, so compared to that, I feel the Sinhala readership is much more expansive. I'm not necessarily commenting on quality, okay?
Okay.
Literacy, literary appreciation, quality of the stuff they read. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about the market per se,
Yeah.
right? Translations has a huge market, other languages to Sinhala.
But you're not a fan of it, is it? You're not a fan of translation. You think in a poem
No, I mean,
or
look,
something.
look. There are good translations. Depends on the translation. Strictly speaking, of Sinhala translations of other works,
Sinhala too.
Others to Sinhala.
Okay.
Strictly speaking, in my experience, not that great. There have been some great translators. There are some people whom you follow because it's that person translating. But especially in this time and age of mass publication,
Right.
where you have a book published in some obscure African country, translated in a Sri Lankan bookshop in 2 weeks,
I
compromise.
didn't follow that.
Whatever book comes out this week, in another month, month and a half, it's in Sri Lanka, in Singapore.
Okay. Is that genuine?
I'm like exaggerating for the effect,
Okay.
but the turnover time is very fast.
Could they be sued?
I don't know.
No, because I used to look at this, there are people there are big, now as this
any big
love in
novel.
the time of cholera and all that.
I would like to believe
How
that
do they get the license?
I would like to believe they go through proper channels.
Yeah.
But even if not, I mean, would anyone care?
See, so do you think the Sinhala readership is getting bigger while the English readership is shrinking?
That I don't know. I really don't know. But
Okay.
one thing I know is that Sri Lanka, especially after 2022, very few English books available after the economic meltdown.
Not a surprise, yeah.
Yeah, after the economic meltdown, and books are very costly suddenly, right? So I don't know why that has to be the case, because there has to be a way of. There are regional markets which have books at a lesser price. Even books coming from there is fairly costly,
Okay.
right? And also,
even books coming from India.
yeah, it's come to a point where people are forced to buy what is in the market. Good literature is not available for Sri Lankans. Good literature, classics are not available. Good literature that actually nourishes your range.
Okay.
Your depth is not there. So you have like very random, obscure, middle-brow, popular titles. I don't know whether people really read these things, but if they are very sad, then, right, the kind of deal readers are getting in Sri Lanka. It's a little bit like you have to wear that moose shirt because the moose shirt is what's in the shop, right? It's the book version of that,
Yeah.
right?
True. I would like to read a poem
Yeah.
from your book, yes.
Sure.
I guess before that, your poetry, it's mostly romantic.
I think.
But I have read.
I think you're referring to.
Even the others. I mean, most of the stuff that you put out on Facebook, maybe this that, but there have been others too. But maybe since the time I've known you, or since the time that I've come across your book, it's most romantic.
Which is what, 4 years?
4 or 5. But bro, I've been following you before that too. But
Okay.
we've started
interacting.
interacting.
Okay.
Mostly that I see is that romantic. So, women, what is the equation with women?
What do you mean by equation?
Have you been in love?
Always.
Always.
Uninterrupted from a very young age. I think from
Okay.
15 onwards, probably younger.
Okay.
It depends how you qualify what is love, what is not. At least 15, probably 13. Love is a big word, that's why.
Yeah.
Right? Love is a big word. So
How
when
has it evolved for you?
I think every
The
time,
word love.
Oscar Wilde said this, every time a person loves is the only time he has ever loved. Oscar Wilde said that, right? Every time a person loves is the only time he has ever loved. Because the goalposts shift every time you think you're in love, right? But I have a very rich, potent, powerful history. being in love, and probably this is up for dispute, but probably exclusively, solely with women,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Okay. See,
So put you on the back foot. That answer.
No, because
Put you on the back foot.
no, because
slightly.
I'm thinking about it because see now what you said has made me think.
Something makes me feel that you expected the answer. No.
I don't think you can write like how you write without being in love, without being a person who
Okay.
is vulnerable
Familiar
like that.
with the sentiment.
Is companionship a thought that you give or has a space in your head?
Always, always.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm fairly pretty much like the guy behind the camera.
Okay.
You, people who own this establishment, 100% on the same wavelength,
Right.
right? So from time to time there are changes, what you prioritize. Sometimes there are seasons not good for companionship. So you should be a fool to seek companionship in certain seasons.
What do you mean seasons?
There are times you
You mean the age or
climate, what's happening in your life, right? There are times you have to give that time to yourself.
okay.
You need to rest yourself. There are times like that, right? Also depends on whom you're in love with. You shouldn't. I don't believe that you necessarily have to seek, let's say, a life-changing deal with anyone that you fall in love with. You can fall in love, but you don't have to necessarily push it for a paradigm shift. Sometimes the paradigm might shift more than you want, depending on the person. So you have to be very careful. It's a dangerous and risky business, right? But it's a good business. Being in love.
How about now?
There are times. It's like an almanac. It's like your life is like a calendar. Think of it in terms of cricket, which is a game you follow with a certain passion, right? So there's an off season. There's a playing season. There's a season for rest. You can't play cricket around the calendar. That's why cricket is in disarray right now. The traditional cricket calendar, there's a time for everything, right? So love is also like that. You have to take a break from things sometimes.
How has love been to you? Has it been kind?
Um,
Have your lovers been kind to you, or
okay, now you're speaking in poetry.
I am?
Now you're speaking in poetry. But
I've gone to that space. Have I?
These are people. These are human beings interacting with one another. So it's gonna be complex. At best, it's gonna be complex, right? There are ups and downs. I sometimes shudder, and there are people I know in my life. There are people I know in my life who have been in love since the age 14, and now they're like
I mean,
touching.
with the same.
Yeah, touching 60.
Right.
They've got married. They've had kids. 35, 36, 40 years together. I sometimes look at them and marvel. I can't get my head around that status, that situation, right? Because there are
Long term.
ups and downs, and I'm very sure some of the love interests you have in your teens, that's not what love is to you in your 20s.
True love.
Yeah, what you want in your 20s is not what you want in your 30s. So for me, that is the world I occupy. It's a constant flux. It changes so much.
I mean, see, you're saying you look at people like that and marvel. Is that something you want for yourself? Is that something that you haven't been?
I'm not thinking in those terms.
Okay.
But that consistency of two people together,
Okay.
while everything changes around them, that idea intrigues me, right? I even look at them with a degree of suspicion, because there's something there that is alien to me.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't add up, doesn't come into the equation, to use your word, right? For me,
See the word, but
for
now
me,
makes
right?
sense. Yeah?
Yes, makes sense.
See, I see when you say that, right? You look at people in Marvel. I relate to that because I am nearing my 30s. I marvel at people like them too. I'm like, this is a gimmick, you know. How? Are you really happy, or am I the the idiot here? You know, is it because maybe we've fallen in love with things that we can't keep? Does that apply to you?
Look, one thing is self-doubt is a good thing. When you are like in this zone, self-doubt is a good thing. Complacency is a bad thing, right? You shouldn't get too comfortable in this zone. It's good to keep guessing. It's good to have second guesses even about yourself. And naturally, as you move ahead in life, things are bound to change somewhere. So maturity is where at a certain point you make certain decisions and try to live with them as much as possible, right? I think that's where the balance comes in. Okay. I won't. I don't relate to what you said exactly in those terms,
Okay.
but I'm very sure, at least subconsciously, somewhere deep down, it's playing
Yeah.
there, right? But not in the same terms. But I understand your concern.
In several occasions, in several collections that I've seen, can choose not to answer this. See, I when I read something, if it affects me, and I start thinking about the person who wrote it, that's how I am. That's how I connect with.
Yeah.
I cannot, like you said, distance myself from the work I read. I get attached to it. There is some part of it that clicks here. So when I read, I felt like you are someone who falls in love with things that you can't keep.
Are you suggesting that I fall in love with things I can't achieve? Is that what you mean? That I can't control?
That doesn't stay.
I've never thought about it. This is a very interesting point you're raising. I've never thought about it, but something that will connect with the observation, right, is in my life. Very few things have stayed, right? Very few things have stayed. Even things that kind of create the illusion of durability. There's a lot of change, right? And I don't only mean women.
Right.
I mean overall, there's a kind of a quality of things coming and going. So the bigger question for me is how okay I am with that kind of constant change, right? But I assume that's the same with everyone's life. But I'm trying to, I'm framing it this way because you raised this point.
Right.
If you didn't raise this point, probably I wouldn't say it at all. But I've never really thought of my life in those terms until 2 minutes ago.
Have I given you something to?
Some philosophical space, yes. Some philosophical
Have we
space.
reached that space? Yeah.
I think I'll have to like explore what's there.
No, I didn't want to. No, I just felt like that. That's what I felt. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm also thinking about it from my perspective because I feel like I don't feel sad for myself because I've started accepting things as they are.
You said you're touching 30, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you something.
Okay. Please do.
I mean, if I put it this way, you're probably entering a very decisive decade in your life. Probably even one of the best decades in your life.
30s. Yeah.
30s, pretty much. I think, speaking out of experience, you're in another zone, 30s. Because most of your 20s, you're spending it trying to figure out yourself, to get a measurement of the bearings, right? 30s, you're a little bit more comfortable of who you are, what the surroundings are. So you will only feel more and more suspenseful or intrigued what the 40s are going to be in your 30s. So I think you have everything to look forward to.
To be honest, I've been kind of dreading 30s.
30s, I mean, the only thing you have to dread in the 30s is you start putting on a bit of weight. But if you can like keep up with the bodily changes, mentally I feel it's a very revealing decade. Mentally,
Okay.
the thinking, the thought processes, it's a great decade.
How has it been for you? 30s?
Fairly good, I
Because
think.
you're saying this, there's something you must have. You must hold it dear.
No,
These
sure,
years.
sure. I mean, like, I could see the change. I could, like, looking back, I can see the change coming from the 20s, especially if I look at myself as a critic, if I look at my critical writing, I think the 30s is much more measured in how I look at things. 20s, you're still a little bit more on the idealistic side. So you're saying certain things probably which can be said differently and to your advantage, right? In a way that is only going to make you too many enemies. 20s. 30s, I think, much better.
Only writing you're talking about.
No, everything, everything. Writing is an example.
Okay.
But overall, I feel that maturity starts kicking in.
See, one thing that I'm genuinely worrying about, not worried, but inevitable, I feel, right? Friendship and relationship and love. I mean, love distributed among relationships, yes. Since you were talking about love, I was just thinking, you actually told that other relationships too, haven't, or things haven't stayed, is what you said earlier, like not much. How about friendship? Because friendship, see, it's a time where people start new things. People in the 30s is what I feel, because some of my friends are getting married. You know, I don't feel left alone, but because these are choices I make. Yeah.
So, arrivals and
How
departures.
has friendship? How has friendship? I don't know.
Friendship can renew itself.
Has it survived?
It can renew itself. Friendship.
You mean new friends?
No. How you manifest your friendship, right? How do you execute your friendship? How do you share your friendship?
Okay.
I think you can't really expect in your 30s or then in your 40s or in your 50s to do things you did at high school, because life is not American Pie, right? It's just a comedy, right? So I
Comedy.
think, whatever it is, tragedy, American Pie, right? So I think it's a matter of.
No, but okay. You're talking about comedy in the sense American.
I think life is not like that, right? So even there, I think one of the, if you take that seriously, even there, one problem is how you are actually going to hold on to that childhood nostalgia as adults. If you take that comedy series seriously, for films, right? For films seriously. But what I'm trying to say is you have to probably reorient how you look at relationships and friendships. Probably there will be long dry spells, there will be hiatuses. It won't be the same as when you got together and went out to watch a cricket match or a film or just hang out as you did when you were younger, when responsibilities were less, right? When you had more time on your hand, on your side, right? So you have to probably get a 2020 vision to put things in perspective, right? Which will help you probably. My experience is that friendships that have lasted through the 20s to the 30s, they don't go too easily, right? They don't go too easily. And I'm someone who hasn't had too many great friends. My inner circle is very, very small, but the inner circle has been consistent. It's been intact through ups and downs, through other changes happening in life. It's been consistent. So I feel that you have everything to probably look forward to.
30s, yeah.
Yeah.
That actually feel better about entering my 30s. See, I'm not.
I might be wrong, but my detection, I might be wrong, is that you had failure for too long. You experienced failure for too long, expectation wise. Maybe love, maybe friendship, whatever. You haven't been scoring for a long time. You're Kusal Mendis. In this, that's my detection. I might be wrong.
Okay.
You're the Sri Lankan cricket team, right? So what has happened to the Sri Lankan cricket team in the eyes of the public has now happened to you in your eyes. So you have to come through it. It will take time. It will probably take more time than you would like, but then it will happen. Going and showering your loyalties on the Sri Lanka women's cricket team is not the answer, right?
I'll come back
Yeah.
to cricket, right?
Okay.
I come back to cricket. I think so. You're talking about friendship renewing itself, so it doesn't tend to get lonely.
Look,
For you, like you said, your
there
inner
are
circle has
spells.
survived.
There are spells. There are spells. It's very normal. There are spells brought on by some of the reasons you highlighted: marriage, career, people going different ways, right? But you need to like upgrade your vision, the way you look at things.
You cannot think like your 20s.
You can't. That will be like utterly, I would say,
Idiotic?
immature, idiotic even. Immature to think that you
Yeah.
know that kind of dynamic can be transported.
Cannot.
Yeah.
But naturally, you're saying that it'll be okay, is it?
Hopefully, yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay. See, like I said, I want to read from
Okay. Sure. Great.
the Lavinia poems,
Yeah.
Aphrodite style, right? But one thing, I've been reading this yesterday in preparation,
Yeah.
right? I want to read it. Lavinia is a cigarette, page 23, right? More and more read these poems since you became my soul. Leave messages and lines that state in how I word your eyes. I must exaggerate that no woman can, with a twitch of lips, melt my heart said to be made of stone. What may I say to these ignoble flocks who plunder my verse? Ignoble flocks who plunder my verse, disregard my prose. Their claims, and oh, their claims. I have known no other sacrilege to suit this, right? In this slow, sinning world, both in and outdoors. And your passing inquests disappoint. They are even worse. You ask who then Lavinia is, right? Is Lavinia all that divine elegance or made up like eyes behind a fan unfurled? Is Lavinia from these hills or a moist coastal girl, right? See, this is because I see that you mentioned that the hills in one poem, and the coastal, the waves, the feet, the waves, and all that.
Yeah.
So I was able to make that, and that is why I told you that this collection was where you were more visible to me. Continuing, and your passing inquests disappoint. They are even worse. You ask who then Lavinia is. Is Lavinia all that divine elegance or made up like ice behind a fan unfurled? Is Lavinia from these hills or a moist coastal girl? Lavinia is a cigarette. You, my aching soul. My chest fills and tightens as you speak. Then you part lips for that smile of yours.
Crazy, right?
I think you're bullshitting, man. I don't think Lavinia is a cigarette. Because these other poems don't suggest. I think you were madly in love.
So you deduce there to be two people here, is it? Lavinia, Aphrodite's child.
I mean,
Is it one person, or like how do you deduce it? Two people?
I read it as one person, but now that you say, right? I don't know.
So the popular-
Maybe that person hills, coastal.
So
I don't know. Maybe
So one interpretation is that
one
there are
person is
two
what I
people here.
felt.
Okay, you felt it's one
You were
person.
madly in love, and you're bullshitting at the end of that particular collection that Lavinia is a cigarette. I think you're trying to. Who are you trying to fool, man?
Okay, so the you in the poem, who is the you in the poem? The you in the poem
Okay.
is referencing Lavinia, right? The you in the poem is asking after Lavinia, page 23.
Inquests.
So your inquests, the
Okay.
you, the you to whom the narrator is addressing,
Okay.
the you,
Yeah. Lavinia. Yeah.
you is asking after Lavinia, right? You ask who is Lavinia.
Okay.
Is Lavinia from the hills? Is Lavinia coastal?
Yeah. So that's the reader. Is what I felt.
So you felt it's the reader.
Yeah.
You, okay. Not another person.
Yeah. So I mean, at that point, you're talking about, you're addressing the reader, saying, okay, you whose inquests are even worse. Have I got it wrong? Like,
So-
what is this? Please.
So people claim stuff, ignoble flocks, right? Ignoble flocks plunder my verse, disregarding my prose, and their claims. Oh, their claims. These are things people say. Lavinia is this, Aphrodite's child is that, blah blah blah, right?
Okay.
The many theories they propound. Oh, this stuff I originally posted on social media, now in the book. I've known no other sacrilege to suit theirs in this slow-sinning world, right? And your passing inquests disappoint, they are even worse, right? So, who is this you? That is the question. Right?
I know that it's not a cigarette.
If I am bullshitting, right? It's how you actually like understand the communication that the narrator is trying to make to this other, the you. Is the narrator bullshitting the you? That is the question. If
In
at
one
all.
place, you're talking about this person publishing a book, the second collection, and all that. Right. Cigarette.
Cigarette is just a metaphor, no? I mean, like,
I know.
I think that metaphor is used to contrast the impact of Lavinia as opposed to the impact of this person you never knew existed until this point.
Okay, so this wasn't literal, is it?
Huh?
This wasn't literal, is
I
it?
don't think it's literal, right?
Okay.
It's a way of framing, right?
Okay.
A relationship.
The end card.
Probably a cigarette has so many implications other than its propensity to, give you health issues, right?
The
No, but look,
the
I
occasion high-
really don't want to. I really don't want to like cross the line.
Right. The
I don't
fourth
want
wall.
to. I don't want to like convert you into one way of looking at. For me, at the end of the day, what is very important is that you're actually thinking. You actually like so when you are reading, it was very clear to me that there's a lot of active engagement. So you're not just reading passively. So it's hit a mark in you. So for me, it doesn't. I don't care whether there is Lavinia, Aphrodite's child, whether they are the one. I don't care really. What is important for me is that it means something to you,
Okay.
and that you are actually transported to another space by the poem.
And is this what you were after with your work?
I know it's a great thing. If
No,
that
I'm
can
not saying this.
Yeah.
In general, is this? I mean.
No, when it happens,
Okay.
like you also have an orgasm. When it happens, right?
True.
It's very rare, that kind of true connection. It's a rarity, and when it happens, it does feel good,
Okay.
and then it defines your actual existence as a writer.
Okay.
So now, to connect this with the bigger discussion we have had.
About this book.
No.
Okay.
The bigger discussion we've had. So if someone reads my writing in this way, I don't want to publish myself internationally. That person living internationally can never connect with this poem in this way. And for that reader, I have to look for that reader here. Never happens. There are so many things that will prevent someone living outside Paradise Isle, right, connecting with this
The Misty Hill,
Poem.
the coastal, like. The island life.
They won't get it. It'll be just an. I mean, I'm sure they will create some kind of meaning in their head, but for this creation, you know that you haven't lived in vain.
Okay. Which takes me to my last bit. See, I think the conversation actually flowed nicely to this. Is that purpose of life? What does it mean to you? What has it meant before? Has it changed throughout the years? Does it have any meaning to you? Do you have any particular?
I've thought about this quite a bit because, especially growing up as a kid, growing up, it felt as everything we did as kids, especially school, right? It was like this massive dress rehearsal or a massive exercise preparing us for some great event in life, right? I don't know whether you felt it.
School.
School, like things we were doing, shirts tucked in, following and receiving orders, right? Doing things according to a timetable. And if you actually step offline for a minute, you get punished. It was like it was a massive exercise preparing us for a great event, something that was going to unfold itself, reveal itself in life, right? And there was that sense of anticipation that something great is going to happen growing up, something that we've been prepared for. But that great thing never happened in life. I don't know whether it happened for you. For me, it never happened. That great thing never happened. And now you're touching 30, I'm touching 40. If it hasn't happened so far, probably it means it's never going to happen.
So that
The purpose of life, I think, has to be understood from that anecdote.
there is no particular thing that
No,
you.
I think
Has it evolved for you throughout the years? Like, have you? Okay, this is what life is about. Have you thought like maybe in your teens?
that I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. At least for the last 9-10 years, I've been feeling that I've arrived at a very high place, a high elevation.
Hmm.
I remember distinctly the day I started feeling this, right? Probably 35. That's why I said the 30s is a great decade, right? 35, 36. I remember suddenly waking up and feeling as if I've arrived on a, what do you call those high elevations? The flat high elevation on a hill. There's a word for that. They teach it for geography.
Valley.
Valley is the
Okay.
the opposite of valley. So, for example, Kandy is one such place. I forget the
Mountain.
no, it's some other word. So anyway, let's
I'm
say
really bad with geography, man.
me too. So let's say flat high elevation,
Okay.
and you see everything below you. You see the valley, you see the river, you see the cows. So you have this panoramic kind of view around you, and you suddenly
Vantage point again.
a kind of a vantage point. But there's a like a geographic term for it. Okay, we used to mark this in maps.
Okay.
So probably that's the only thing school prepared you for, arriving on this
Elevation,
high point,
okay.
right? So I felt this sense of lightness for a while, right? So it's actually a way where I feel that I'm living. So to summarize, it's a kind of a feeling that you have achieved everything you can possibly achieve, and everything else is extra, right? And I've been living with that feeling for 10 years now.
That you've achieved everything and
Everything
else
I can achieve, everything. So this is like a high point in my life. Beyond this, everything is an
Bonus.
add-on. It's an add-on. Yeah, it's an add-on. Yeah.
Lovely.
Okay.
Like I promised, let's talk about cricket.
Okay.
Okay, one question. Like you mentioned this, you said that women's cricket, or talking about that, or promoting them is not the answer to the failure of the men's cricket. What did you mean? Like why not?
I think something I learned from that little episode is about Sri Lankans, or we people as a country, right? We don't own failure, right? even a thing that we loved, even a thing that we built up with so much passion, dedication, commitment, if there's failure over time, we let go of it, we get hold of the next fashionable thing that comes along. We shouldn't have this talk in the month of an election, but that defines our history, right? So it's a kind of a very eye-opening moment in relation to men's cricket. And then suddenly the men's cricket team starts delivering the next week. Okay?
Yeah.
And now you're caught in a dilemma. Do I bite my pride and say sorry? Or do I just now hang on for a little bit more, parodying Kusal Mendis a little bit more, even though he's scoring now, right? But you're waiting for that one low score to, because you made a livelihood out of it. Parodying and abusing this one cricketer. So even when things are going right, you hold on to the fashionable decision you've taken. So I just that came to my mind when I referred to the women's cricket team earlier.
But cricket, like it's like you said, it's just been changing. Like there'll be a lot of lows. There'll be one particular small high, then hold on to that. They'll think that everything is changed.
No, look, it's like this. I'm I'm traditionalist when it comes to cricket.
Okay.
I'm very old school, so that's why one reason why I don't watch cricket anymore.
You don't?
It doesn't make sense anymore. Cricket doesn't make sense anymore. It's not a game anymore.
You don't like Virat. I'm not saying that you don't like Virat Kohli, but you've said that he murders cricket.
Terrible cricketer.
Terrible cricketer.
Virat Kohli. Some guy whose name I forget. There was a video a couple of days ago. Some upcoming county cricketer in England, 18 years old, Sri Lankan origins, with a name like Fernando as surname, young cricketer. Some of his cover drives were shared on video. Pure class. Technical brilliance. In terms of technical brilliance, I think old school cricket is the real deal, right?
But isn't Virat a good test player?
Huh?
Isn't Virat Kohli a good test player?
No, I'm sure there are suitable people to analyze this guy's career. But personally for me, he represents a different era of cricket that is just not cricket for me.
Okay.
The kind of, starting from the equipment, starting from the conditions, even the technique, right?
Okay.
The kind of bats that are in play.
The heavy bats, is it?
Like, these are like, if you are shooting Mahabharata or something, these would actually qualify for weapons in the battle between the right, those two sides. Those kind of these are like clubs they are using for cricket bats. This is the age where a decent outsider goes over the ropes for a 6 or third man. You can't discuss cricket in those conditions. Right?
So has it become? Is it because it's commercialized more? Because there is.
No, surely it's a business, nothing more, right? I only hope the bigger amount of businesses tied up to cricket today are legit. That's my biggest concern. There can be not so clean businesses connected to cricket also.
Okay.
Like betting, gambling, etc., etc. Right?
Corruption, you mean?
I mean, there's definitely an economy around it.
Yeah.
And bigger the game, bigger the economy. So sometimes you watch a cricket match and you see something even as natural as a pigeon flying into the ground. You're not sure whether someone is making money out of this somewhere. Whether that pigeon has been parachuted into the ground. Cricket has come to that kind of point. I'm also not a big fan of technology. I'm not a big fan of DRS.
Okay.
I firmly believe it has to go.
DRS?
DRS has to go. DRS has to go. Cricket has to be humanized. We have to depend on human judgment. Yeah.
Okay.
I think DRS, whatever its promises were, that hasn't been achieved. There has only been more controversy over time.
Does it feel like umpires aren't important anymore? Is that why you're saying?
No, I think umpires have done a great job to adjust. They have really adjusted to having technology around them.
Okay.
Having Hawkeye on them. They've really adjusted. Right? But we shouldn't pressurize the human capacity that much.
Right.
It prevents a game from being a sport.
Final thing that I want to ask: do you think ඔයාගේ මතය එක පුළුවන්ද?
Sri Lankan cricket. The biggest question is why Sri Lankan cricket cannot, for 4 or 5 years running, why it's in this situation. That is the biggest question.
What is your?
I don't know. I don't know. It's,
You don't know, but is there
most pundits say it's nothing to do with skill. Most pundits say these guys have the skill.
Management.
Most people say that there are like fairly well credentialed people in management places. So there has to be some kind of X factor, or in this case Y factor, right, preventing things from being better. And if you look around the globe, it's not only Sri Lanka. There are some other countries, talent-wise very rich, passion-wise very up there. Individual brilliance is there, especially when these guys play in franchise cricket. But as a team, all disarray. There are some other teams like that. So probably you have to maybe send a telegram to 221B Baker Street, if that is the case.
Okay.
Summon Sherlock Holmes. But you have to get to the bottom of what's happening there. My hunch, and I might be wrong because I'm just a spectator at the end of the day, that the answer to the question is not in the cricket field, that it's outside. It's something I just intuitively feel.
It's not in the field.
Yeah, I mean, as a creative writer, you feel it, that this plot, there's some
Has to
element,
be a script.
there's some element, right, that doesn't meet the eye. So you need to find that element. That's what I personally feel, right?
Well, it has been wonderful, and I love the way that the conversation has gone.
Sure, it's a a conversation I highly enjoyed, and I think probably it opened vistas for both of us.
I think
Right,
I haven't seen like you. I haven't seen. I mean, we have had more intimate spaces than this. Yeah,
That's true.
conversations than this. But
That's true.
I think I touched. I think
A couple of nerves.
a couple of nerves.
Yeah.
Good ones.
Yeah, and I think we should continue this to the future as well.
We will.
Yeah.
You will. Would you like to?
Sure,
do
sure, no problem.
Another. Thank you so much. Future, I hopefully will have better setups, better mics, and
Okay.
all that. But thank you so much.
Sure.
Right.
Thanks a lot. Pleasure is mine.